What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with macro data, we do have a couple big ones coming out Monday evening that could potentially move some Chinese stocks. So manufacturing, non-manufacturing, and general. And as I've mentioned, beginning of October, I believe it is the second week of October, this is where they will be having that official meeting to kind of talk about monetary policies and potentially stimulus. Lately, we've seen somewhat mixed data, so potentially that could be a good catalyst. So I think what's been happening with China and their data is it's actually moved higher with negative data. So again, inversely, I think that is because with negative data kind of justifies stimulus. So again, we kind of want that to be below 50. So 50 is a key pivot for a lot of these data points. So just kind of watch for that. Nothing really crazy from companies unveiling their earnings. So it is going to be more linked to technicals as well as the weekly registration numbers. That's going to play a very big part in the foreseeable future, especially based on a lot of the high milestones that kind of NIO has mentioned. And then speaking of high milestones, it does look like Firefly hit 20,000 deliveries, and that was as of September the 26th, September the 27th. So pretty good stuff as far as that. Is this a crazy reason to go out and buy NIO because of that? Not so much, but it does also reconfirm though just generally what they are trying to accomplish. So we'll have to wait and see. In my opinion, this could potentially move NIO up a little bit. The only other thing that has really come out was this right here. So it looks like NIO's 𝗖𝗧𝗪 did win a award. So kind of the innovation technology. And so that was done earlier today. And the award officially was this right here. So Global New Energy Vehicle Innovation Technologies. So definitely good stuff. Good to see NIO getting kind of the recognition that it does deserve. So let me know your general thoughts. In my opinion, even this as well as this, it's good FYIs, but not really a good reason to go out and buy and FOMO into NIO because of this, nor is it a reason to sell. It's just more of a good FYI. Aside from that, there really isn't anything planned for this upcoming week. So no fireside chats or anything like that. But again, if they kind of come out and give updates on how production is working, for instance, on ES8 and many things like that, market does seem to really like that. So that could really help NIO move higher. Over this last week though, it did go down 3.23%. So losing a little bit of momentum, especially on Friday, going down 5.76%. As far as shorts, so going into this upcoming week, 11.19% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 154 million shares overall being shorted. Cost of borrow average 2.2, so kind of on the low end. DTC still does signal that shorts are overextended. It has been going down. On a side note, in July it was 5 or 5.95, so that does factor in NIO's average volume in comparison to number of shares being shorted. But still, with it being at 1.95 days, it still is rather overdone. Aside from that though, shorts have started to really increase again, and that's because of the recent announcement from the New York Stock Exchange. But still, generally looking at the peak in April, when it was at about 17% short interest, things have really gone down from that. So that's always a positive. So hopefully over the next couple weeks, you see shorts continue to return. Even for instance, on Friday, they did return 190,000 shares. And that kind of goes to show that they didn't feel that Friday pull lower was justified. And there was a hell of a lot of ammunition. There's more than 10 million shares available to be shorted, and it's fairly cheap to kind of borrow and to short. So if shorts really did feel that NIO was over, dead and done, they could easily double down, but they're not. So again, this is why I like to analyze this information. With it closing above 7, so at 7.04 on Friday, that does mean that the $7 and below strike prices are considered in the money. So you have 23,000 at that 7, 9,000 at the 650, 7,000 at that 6. As I brought up on my video on Friday, there was some crazy transactions that did occur. Some of that could be market makers covering, but this is in excess of that. So we also do have a couple days left in Q3. So most likely you will be seeing some rebalancing. So in my opinion, this $57 million transaction that is associated to rebalancing. But we'll have to wait and see whether that is a positive, if someone knows something ahead of time or not. Going back over here for a second, from a bulls standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $8 range by the end of this upcoming week. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 7. So with it closing, like I said, at 7.04 on Friday, there is more upside anticipated. So that's kind of a good thing in my opinion. But aside from that, with it at 7.04 on Friday, it is trading between this R2 and this R1. 680 is going to be that next strong support, followed by 586. Flip side, 738, and then 832 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. And on the actual chart, so you did have Friday, it closing below that 10-day moving average. So kind of signals that they are losing a little bit of momentum. And it honestly, nothing really wrong with that. I know some people might be starting to freak out that NIO's like consolidating, but that's the same type of price action that happened in July, where it did break below that 10-day moving average, kind of consolidated sideways for a week, and then it burst higher. Same goes for what happened at the end of August, and then it consolidated and burst higher. So in my opinion, I think this is literally one of the best type of scenarios on a technical standpoint, because every one of these consolidation periods, it causes the stochastic RSI to reset. So it goes from overbought to kind of neutral / oversold. So I think that is going to happen again. So potentially you could be seeing this kind of 680, 669 touched in sometime this week, and then you will see a nice push higher. And the reason why I say that is because I'm looking at the market position. So strong buys and strong sells. There's a little bit of a leg right here, so a little bit of a gap. So essentially you could see that touched, like I said, early on, potentially in the week, and then from there you could see a nice push higher, as per usual. So let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. There hasn't been all that much in latest or like new analyst ratings aside from what I've brought up. So Citi was the last one, came out on the 23rd. Same with Mizuho, so $8.60 buy by Citi, and then $7 hold by Mizuho. On a side note though, I have had people ask me where I get reports from analysts and whatever else. It's all on Moomoo. So I recommend a lot of people signing up for Moomoo. I have a link to them in the description below and also the comments. Pretty good promo as well going on. But if you do want analyst reports, which normally costs money, Moomoo removes that paywall so you can actually see all the reports. So highly recommend if you want to kind of dive deep into that, you can definitely do so. And like I said, there is that good promotion that is going on that if you sign up, throw $100 at it, they give you $50 back. So that's a pretty good return on investment. So definitely sign up for that. But let me know your general thoughts on where you feel NIO is going. Like I said, I do feel like you might be seeing some consolidation slightly below this R1, but by the end of the week, it should be above this R2. So again, if you're day trading, swing trading, just kind of orient a lot of your buys and sells to these. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.